Welcome in again, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the R&D Sports Report. My name is Dishmond, and I am joined, as always, by Rylee. Rylee, how was your weekend, first off?
Dude, it's been awesome.
And how are you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing even more awesome.
Is that possible?
Awesome? Yeah, totally. Look,
Can you please not scream into the microphone?
I'm sorry. I'm just really hyped up right now. I promise to bring positive vibes tonight. And I promise to bring y'all joy and happy. I'm sorry. I'm too hyped. I can't even speak. Anyways, let's get on to the podcast. Let's do this.
All right, so first thing we have to deal with is the issue that's been at large all today. And that is it Yanny or is it Laurel?
Yeah.
So, if for anybody not knowing what we're talking about, there's a little video going around, and it says a word. Some people interpret it as Yanny, some interpret it as Laurel. So, we're going to first start off with that and see which one we both think it is.
Laurel. 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 Laurel.
Okay, so first off, Rylee, what do you hear there?
I hear Laurel.
You hear Laurel.
Laurel.
Okay, that's what I've been hearing. As I listen to it on my phone, that's what I've been hearing. And, you know, the thought was, well, maybe it's, speakers or something. But then I watched it on the news this morning, and all of a sudden I heard Yanny.
Right?
Although it also sounded like Danny, so. But I'm going to play a different thing here, and on the New York Times, they have a little slider you can kind of adjust, because they say the reason is like the frequency, that it's like the dress, if you remember a few years ago, right? The color changing dress that like tore the internet apart.
Yes, pretty much.
Is it gold and white? Is it blue and black? So now this audio file's out there, and it's doing the same thing. It is tearing the internet down. And people debating whether it's Yanny or Laurel. So here I'm going to play one, and we'll let it play here for a second.
Laurel. 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 Yanny, 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 Yanny. Laurel.
It sounded like it was getting demonic.
it does, but like this little slider is like, I don't know, I hear on the New York Times. And that's what they say, like if you lower, because like some people have been able to hear, like say they've been hearing Laurel. And they lower the frequency, and they've heard Yanny, or they've raised it and heard Yanny then. And then it's vice versa. You know, it's amazing to me, for one, that not only our brains are so different, obviously, in the way we think, but the fact that even our hearing can be so different that I can play that, and somebody listening might have heard Yanny that entire time. No matter what I did. And then when I changed it down to where you could hear it say Yanny, then, you know, somebody might have heard Laurel. So, for one, amazing to me that happens.
Oh, definitely.
Two, I think it's pretty clear that it's Laurel. I mean,
Laurel. It's Laurel.
It's Laurel. If you hear Yanny, I'm sorry. Go get your hearing checked. I don't know. Like,
It's really tearing
because
me
like
apart.
I heard, as I said the first time on my phone this morning, I heard Laurel, and they played it on the news, and all of a sudden I heard Yanny, and I thought, well, maybe it was because of the speakers, but I don't. Maybe they got a different version, a lower version or something. And then I heard Yanny, but everything else I hear is Laurel, so it's Laurel.
Right. Well, I'd woken up this morning. I'm sitting in my bed because I'm too lazy to get up, and I check Twitter and all that, and I see what's trending, and I see Yanny versus Laurel, or Yanny Laurel. And I click on it, and I'm like, I'm like, what in the world is going on? So I'm listening to it, and I hear Yanny constantly. Yanny, Yanny, Yanny. And then probably, I don't know, I guess 3 hours later, I hear Laurel, which it killed me because I listened to the same one a second time. So I was trying to figure out, like, I don't know, maybe like my ears have popped. I don't really know. But maybe it's because maybe the volume,
Well,
but I don't
and
know.
that's what I thought, because I thought, well, maybe it's the speakers on my phone versus the speakers on the TV.
Right.
But then when we sit down here, the speakers on my computer, it sounds like Laurel. And like I've only heard Yanny a couple times. Every other time I've heard Laurel.
Yeah.
But that's just like the dress from 2-3 years ago. Like it's amazing to me that our eyes can perceive something completely different. But then, like, if you put it in darkness, then I could see the black and blue dress. But it wasn't until I did that I could see the black and blue dress.
Right.
So, which that goes to this whole thing, and you're wearing a blue shirt now, right?
Yeah.
Are you and I perceiving that blue shirt at the same blue as you're wearing it, right? Like that makes me think of all that too. Like, are we perceiving that at the same
Right.
color hue, I guess you could say? Does it look the same? The gray shirt I'm wearing, does the gray look, like, to me it looks
Looks
light.
like green. I'm just kidding.
You might want to go get your eyes checked then, 'cause you may be colorblind. But this gray can look different to you than it does to me. Like, it's just amazing how, like, our minds work and how different they can be, although they can also be so similar, right?
Right. I even asked a ton of my family members, to listen to it. And I had my dad say it was Laurel. I had my mom say it was Laurel. And then I asked my youngest brother, and he said it was Yanny. So, and I remember watching something on Netflix a couple of years ago, or a couple months ago. And it was that Brain Games or whatever. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yes, I do like that show.
Yeah, they had like a high-low frequency thing. Like, if you can hear this, you're above 40. If you don't hear this, then you're 10 and under, that kind of thing. And I look back at that, and I think, maybe there's younger people that can hear Yanny, but older people hear Laurel because, of course, damaged hearing maybe.
All right, so you mentioned the Netflix, which gets me into a nice segue here.
Okay.
Did you see the release from ESPN and Netflix?
No, I did not.
About their, it's a 10-part series on Michael Jordan.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
So, 10-part, it's like 10 hours. And, it's supposed to go through his time there with the Bulls and all that. Is it just me, or does it seem like 10 hours might be a few too many?
A few too many? I figured it'd be a little bit too, like, a little bit, not enough, right? I mean, he's got his whole life from college. I mean, if they're just talking about the Bulls, then maybe.
That's what they're talking about. That, like, the way I understand it, it's only talking about his time there with, like, the Bulls, and not his time, like, in college and other stuff like that.
I just, I like Michael Jordan, and I do plan to watch it, just to let you know. And I'm kind of excited to see it, to be honest, because I saw it this morning. It was on ESPN, Twitter, and I was excited to watch it, and because I never got to see Michael Jordan play as much. I think I got to see him later in his years, right before he retired. But I'm really excited to watch this. I think 10 hours is a tad bit too much just for the Bulls. If it was like talking about, college and, pretty much him from a kid leading up to the Bulls, that's reasonable. But, I do agree with you. It can be a little bit too much time for a show like that.
All right, so I was looking it up as you were talking. The documentary is Michael Jordan and the 90s Bulls. That's coming to Netflix via like ESPN Films. It's a collaboration. So it's going to be entitled The Last Dance, and it's a 10-hour documentary on the simultaneous rise of Jordan and the NBA it's supposed to be debuted next year on both ESPN and Netflix.
But I will say, you got to think of how many games there are in a season and how many years he was there. So, between different games and he was Michael Jordan, you never really knew what to expect.
But it's different if they're going to go game by game. I don't think they're going to do that.
No, but they're going to hit very big points in his life, even mini ones, like hitting a high score for scoring.
Well, that's what you assume they're going to do.
Yeah.
From what I understand, though, is that it's the 90s Bulls and Jordan, and like how he and the 90s Bulls and the NBA kind of rose together, right, in popularity, in viewers. So it's probably going to also focus somewhat on shoes for him. But I just, you say 10 hours is too much, and you go watch your favorite show on Netflix for 40 hours,
True.
over all their seasons. But I feel like for this, it's a bit too much. Like, I'm thinking max of 7 hours here. Is what it could have been. I think 10's too many.
Well,
I think 5 would have been good. You might have been pushing it to get it all in, but I think like 5 might have been the nice point for it.
I would slightly agree. I feel like we're kind of jumping the pedal here because we don't really know the full details of how they're going to do the show. I mean, unless you got them up in your on your computer right now. They could be going game by game, season by season, month by month, maybe, weekend by weekend. You never really know. So I slightly do agree with you, partially, because I do think that if you're just going to talk about the 90s Bulls, season by season, 5 hours is, I feel, enough. If you're going season by season for 10 hours, I think that's a little bit too much. But if you're going maybe month by month, that's reasonable.
Well, I mean, I would assume you would cover the 96 through 98 Bulls, right? That championship run. And then, I just went blank on the other championship run for him in the 90s.
Was it, which one did you say first?
I said 96 through 98, so 96, 97, 98.
Wasn't it like 92, 93?
Was it 92, 93, 94?
It could have been, but I'm not too sure.
Hang on.
Well, for your entertainment, while Dish is looking them up. No?
No.
Okay. I mean, I was saying about singing and dancing.
Please
y'all
no.
wouldn't see the dance, but
no. But no, like if you think about it though, like he took time off to go play baseball, and then he retires. So you're not necessarily going to maybe be covering a lot of information. And like I don't know if that makes sense, obviously, at the moment, but like you're not going to be covering a lot of a time frame if you're looking at when he was with the Bulls?
20 years, I would think, would be good for 10 hours, 10 years, I mean, it's possible, but it really depends on how much, like, commentary and how deep they go into the background, Like, if they start talking about, like, relationships, team chemistry, the coach, and how, Michael, reacted to them and, played with them, how they set things up, that's reasonable. So, like I said, I partially agree with you.
Okay, so
but
if we're talking about the 90s Bulls, right, Jordan would have played in seasons from, he would have played in the 1990-91 season and then the 92-93 season. He did not play in the 93-94 season. That was his baseball stint, right? And then he came back 94-95 season, and at that he didn't. And then he retired again in 98. So from 98 to 2000 he didn't play. So it's one of like when you start thinking about it, if you're just talking about the 90s Bulls, it's not a lot of time frame, for 10 hours worth of a documentary. Because, for a documentary, you could literally go his day by day, game by game, but that'd be boring, right? You obviously want to make this documentary, almost said educational, not educational, but interesting. There we go. Like, you want to make it interesting. And I feel like 10 hours is going to not allow for it to be
fun.
Well, not be interesting. Like, I feel at a certain point you're going to go, okay, like, I get it. Like, maybe it's hour number 7 through 10 or 8 through 10, those last 3 hours, you're like, I get it.
Well, it also depends on if you're going to watch the whole thing 10 hours straight. If you sit...
I mean, it's Netflix. Hours. How can you not binge it,
Exactly. That's what I was thinking is, which, do you know when the release date is? I don't know if you said it earlier.
No, they haven't said it yet. Back to our earlier talk, by the way. Jordan won championships in the 90-91 season, 91-92, 92-93, and then he retired, went and played baseball. Came back, and then won it in 95, 96, 96, 97, 97, 98.
Wow.
So, obviously I was throwing years together. So, 90 through 93, or I guess it'd be 91, 92, 93 is when the years in which he won the championship.
So, the question is are they going to cover the baseball part?
No, I don't think so. I think unless they do it on the sense of maybe like a drop in ratings or something, I could see that, but let's be honest, you're really talking about 6 seasons worth of basketball here if you're just talking about the 90s Bulls.
True. But like I said earlier, they could go, it's not even a month-by-month thing. Like, you could talk about how him and Scottie Pippen got along, or how him and the coach got along, or even how Steve Kerr and him got along, or...
Speaking of Steve Kerr.
Yeah, go ahead.
Quick aside, did you see, how you see all these former players and this and that talking about the players today and I'd kick his, butt up and down the court and this and that.
Yeah.
Did you see where Steve Kerr was like, there's no way I could play in the NBA today?
Really?
Yeah, he was like, there's no way I could play in today's NBA. I'm glad I played when I played.
Okay. Well, first off, that does not sound like him. Like, you look at him now.
But if you think of the athleticism that's there today in the NBA, Steve Kerr probably couldn't have kept up with that.
No.
Let's be real.
No. But if you look at him now, he's really cocky, at least in my opinion.
Well, how can you not be cocky coaching that team? Don't you think Phil Jackson was cocky coaching Michael Jordan, right? Coaching Kobe and Shaq, come on, that takes some swag and some cockiness to be able to handle all that.
You know, I think, you know, you sort of have a right to be cocky, and I don't mind Steve Kerr, but he's gotten to the point to where it's like, really, now you're just doing too much. You know, him sitting on the bench and just letting his guys play, that's way too much. You know, I think you get you get paid to coach. You're supposed to coach. You're not supposed to just sit on the bench and chill with your assistant coaches.
Yeah, but
that's not how it goes.
But see, here's the thing. At the same time, for me, like, if the owners are okay with him doing that, you know, and not coaching right, he's not upstanding, yelling. Like, if they don't mind it, I don't mind it too much. Like, I do see it a little bit as kind of like a jerk move, so to speak. Like,
I'm the best.
Just chilling. Well, yeah. Chilling, arms around, you know, like, I got this. Like, to me, it seems like a jerk move just in the sense that it's just kind of like, really, buddy? Like, come on now.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I get your team's killing the other team by 30, but you could look a little more invested in the game.
You know, I totally agree with you. You know, I think Steve Kerr has really gotten too big for his britches. But, you know, I could be wrong. It's just my opinion. I don't really like Steve Kerr as much as I used to. But, you know, it's whatever. You know, if he doesn't want to coach, he doesn't want to coach. If he does, fine. I guess, you know, when you're in the NBA Finals, you know, assuming that they're going to win this series.
I don't think you're really stepping out on a huge limb on that assumption.
No.
Which, by the way, since we're here, let's just go on and get to it. I was going to wait a little bit, but while we're here, let's just jump right into those conference finals. Like, tonight as we record this on Wednesday, will be game number 2 of the Rockets-Golden State series. Like, first off, any chance at all the Houston Rockets have a chance to win or even win tonight?
Slightly. Like, I look at this as like a Raptors situation. They look great in the season, but they get to the playoffs and they're like,
okay, so you do the snoring thing there. I saw a thing, and I don't know if you haven't seen it. Bleacher Report had it up, and it was a comparison of the number of dribbles that James Harden took in Game 1 compared to the number of dribbles that Steph, Clay, and KD took.
Okay.
James Harden dribbled one more time than all three of those guys combined in game number 1. So he dribbled, according to Bleacher Report, 550 times in that game. Like, that's clearly where the Rockets are losing the series, because they're playing right into Golden State's like defense, right? Because it's not hard to guard if you're just going to stand there and dribble a bunch. And I think Golden State doesn't get enough credit, though, for how good their defense actually is. Like, their defense, although their offense is just scary, at the same time, when you have somebody like KD, as big as he is, as mobile as he is, like, it makes it harder for you to compete with that because he can guard so many positions. And yeah, Steph's not the greatest defender, but at the same time, like, he doesn't blow up your defense. And Draymond's good enough and willing enough, right? He's even sacrificing for the team in the sense that he's not chasing his points. He a lot of times just goes out, plays defense, and rebounds. So I don't think the Rockets have a prayer. Like, I think it's a sweet. Like, if the Rockets, don't win this game, it's over completely because it's not going back to Houston. It's going to be a 4-game sweep. I don't think it gets done tonight. I think it is a 4-game sweep. After that first game, and yeah, it might be a bit of an overreaction, but at the same time, it's clear to see who the better team is here.
Right.
Right, just like, you could see in the Cleveland-Toronto series, right, that although Toronto is the better regular season team, there's just something about the Cavs that made them better throughout that series. And the games might have been close, but that was only for Cleveland's, not necessarily a lack of talent, but I mean, I guess lack of talent. That's the only thing I can think of. But I just, as much as it pains me to see the Warriors in the finals again, like, at this point, when you have a team like that and they're willing, right, the only thing that's going to come between them might be money. And they all seem to be willing to maybe sacrifice a little bit to keep winning as they are. So, do you? I know I've kind of gone on a long diatribe here, and you just have to stare at me as I talk. But
you were talking about the. Let me start at the very first start of your conversation. You were talking about how many dribbles James Harden had. Whoever counts that, just. I want to applaud you because you constantly got to be watching the ball. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, whoever does that, shouts out to you. You are awesome. And you prove
it
stats.
Does. It makes you wonder, is somebody going 1, 2,
right.
3, 4, 5, 6? Or do they set it up as an algorithm on a computer?
Or maybe they, have these plates under the court, maybe they do, and they're like, and how many did I do? 4? I can't remember.
I don't know. I was more mesmerized by the annoyingness of that sound than anything.
So maybe that's it. I don't know. There's so much technology, you never know these days. But still, you were talking about the Houston Rockets not really having a chance prayer, if I could speak right. I'm harsh. I agree with you full on. I just feel like they've kind of let up. I don't know why, but I look at them as kind of like the Toronto Raptors this season. Not season, but NBA playoffs. And it kind of frustrates me because I wanted to see the Rockets in there just to have somebody else new, someone new to the scene, but I guess it's going to be Golden State again. I think it will be a sweep. I'd be surprised if the Rockets came back at all with the series. I'd be surprised if they even won one.
I just think it's hard for a team like Houston in the offense that they play, right? It's a lot of ISO ball. It's hard for them on offense to be successful against a defense as good as Golden State's is. It's a lot easier. Then you go and you watch Golden State's offense, right, and you see everybody moving, right? And as somebody's moving to the corner or somebody else is moving up to the top of the key, they're constantly moving on offense. And so the thing for Houston, as they get ready to play, I think is, can they be more physical? And can they make the Warriors work on defense, right? Because then that's going to wear you down on offense. Those two things are huge keys. I think the biggest thing is, can you make them work enough on defense? But at that, you still have to score.
Well, I feel like, unlike the Houston Rockets, the Rockets need to pass a whole lot more. I get it. You got Chris Paul and James Harden as really your team carriers. But still, you need to pass a whole lot more. I think I watched some of the game because, the way the time is. But I watched some of the game, and it was just constantly dribble up the court. 1, 2, 3, pass. Dribble up again. And shoot. You need to, one, have a lot more plays in your book. For instance, pick and roll. I feel like, if they did that and gave James Harden or even Chris Paul the hole, Chris Paul can go into the paint paint. He's really good in the paint. Even James Harden, I get it. He's a great 3-point shooter, but still, I think he's great in the paint. I just think if they got a lot more inside shots, I think you would get a lot more points and more opportunities for plays. I just and I get it. Draymond's freaking huge. You got KD. He's like 6'9".
Man, he's bigger than that. He's like closer to 7 foot.
And I mean, even like Draymond, I think he's actually 6'9".
Yeah, I think he is. Something about there.
And then Iguodala, I don't know how tall he is. He's probably about 6'8", 6'9", maybe. I mean, it's reasonable, but still, I feel like that's why they don't challenge the paint as much, because there is such huge guys down there. I can't think of the Rockets' small forward. Who am I thinking of? Starts with A.
Ariza.
Yes.
Trevor Ariza.
He's sort of underrated. I like him as a player. I think he's a great player. But they need to give him the ball a lot more. I think they need to challenge the paint a lot more, even if it risks. Like, get the foul. With such big guys like that, they're going to fall into you. Just get the foul. Go to the free throw line. Get the free shots. Get back on defense.
Okay, so on a little bit of an aside here,
okay.
Still staying in the NBA, I just saw pop up on my phone where the Raptors congratulated Dwayne Casey on being named one of the 3 finalists for Coach of the Year. Like, how awkward is that? You just congratulated the guy you just fired on being Coach of the Year.
Awkward.
Like what level of awkward is that?
He's sitting there and he's like, really?
Like, it's one of those things. It's just like really? Like, you just congratulated him on social media after you've already fired him, and he's a Coach of the Year finalist. So, anyways, from that quick aside there, getting over to the Eastern Conference.
Ruthless, dude. That's all. That's all I got to say is ruthless. Ruthless.
It shows you a lot of kind of how much Cleveland is lacking outside of LeBron, but at the same time, it shows you how much young and athletic talent that Boston has. Even with 2 guys in Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward being down, Boston's taking it to him. Like, and you're also seeing what it's worth to have young talent, really good young talent, but to also have those veterans. Like, Al Horford is not a dude that's going to blow you away with his numbers, but he's consistent, and he's that veteran leader, just like Marcus Morris, right?
Yeah.
I had to make sure I had the right Morris twin in my head first.
Right.
Just like Marcus Morris, right? He's another veteran in that locker room for guys like Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier, Jason Tatum. Those dudes are balling out. I saw a stat from Game 2, and Cleveland's starting backcourt, which I believe was George Hill and J.R. Smith. You know how many points they had in Game 2?
Nope.
Together?
Nope.
Together now, okay?
Oh, okay. 5.
3.
That's bad.
Like no wonder Cleveland was ahead, and LeBron gets a 40-point triple-double. Like, dude's doing all he can, but getting no help. Kevin Love was tearing it up, and then just kind of like all of a sudden went cold. But I tell you, when I think it honestly kind of turned the tide really for the entire game was when LeBron took that shot from Jason Tatum's shoulder. He's driving down, and he's going to kick, and Jason Tatum goes to reach in, inadvertently hits him with his shoulder in LeBron's jaw, and kind of gives LeBron like a stiff neck or something. I don't know. He went to the locker room anyways. Like, as soon as he came off the court, it was like you saw that energy just be sucked from him. And you knew they were done then.
You know, I've seen so many memes and pictures of, like, a guy carrying a backpack up the hill, and it's like J.R. Smith, George Hill, Tristan Thompson on his back, and it's LeBron's face on the guy that's carrying the backpack. And, you know, speaking of Marcus Morris, I know I just, like, for real went off that meme thing, but did you see him, like, yelling at Tristan Thompson?
Yes, I did.
And
that's turned in. Well, and that's the funny thing. That was the thing on the internet today was that until this whole Yanny Laurel debate. So it's just funny how quick something, you know, within a cycle on the internet can be.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not that it's old news, that meme, but, like, it got shoved to the back, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just, like, I woke up this morning while I was looking at that whole Yanny Laurel thing. I saw that, and people were like, why would you steal my hot dog? And the caption was like, when you're yelling at your sibling or something like that. And it was so funny. But, you know, Terry Rozier, a.k.a. Scary Terry, he's been killing it. You know, I recently saw before we started the podcast was, you know, it was Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell for the Rookie of the Year, which I'm not going to get into that much. I'm just saying Jason Tatum, he might have not been good in the regular season, but he's been killing it in the playoffs. He really has. And, you know, I'm really starting to love Jason Tatum. You know, I've loved the whole Boston Celtics team, which you could tell from my Twitter. But the question is, do the Cavs still have it? You know, JR is overrated. I don't care what anybody says. He is trash. Garbage. George Hill, he's like a fire. Like, he'll get the wind and he'll spark up real high. He'll be real good. And then somebody puts him out with a fire extinguisher and it's like, where'd you go? You know? George Hill's a maybe, and then you know, Tristan Thompson, he's just, where did he go? Heck, I don't know. Let's see.
Well, and that's the thing with a guy like Tristan Thompson. Like, you're not expecting him to be your leading scorer.
No.
You're expecting him to bring energy, defend, and get rebounds.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And
which is disappointing.
Well, and he got that massive contract that he suckered the Cavs out of. But it's just like you almost go back to that Indiana series that the Cavs had. Now, I do think if somehow they can get this to a 7-game series, that Boston might end up crapping the bed. Just because they have such young pieces that will have never been in a Game 7 situation like that. And, yeah, they might have been in Game 7 earlier in this playoffs. You're not talking about Game 7.
Severin.
Yeah, not Severin. 7. Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Winner goes on to the NBA Finals. Like, that's a lot of pressure compared to Game 7 of Round 1 of the, you know, of the NBA playoffs. Like, come on now. Like that, and dudes like LeBron and J.R. Smith, you know, they've been there. They've experienced that. So, you know, I almost look for Cleveland maybe to be able to tie it up after going to Cleveland. But I also thought that Game 2 was a must-win for the Cavs to stay in it, because now I don't know if you saw this stat or not, that the Celtics in series where they lead 2-0, they're I think it was 37-0 is what I had seen.
Yeah, that's it.
37-0. Like, come on now, like all time, like, so clearly they don't lose when they're up 2-0. This might be the year, and I honestly didn't really see it coming, that LeBron doesn't make it to the finals. Now, I think if you're the NBA, you don't want the Warriors and the Celtics.
No. No.
Right?
No.
Because nobody's going to care. Everybody's going to go, okay, Warriors are going to win this.
Yeah. Which,
like, if you have the Cavs Warriors, you at least have the LeBron factor. So, there's that. But, like, Warriors Celtics, like, you're going to be like, man, that's a sweep.
Cavs. No, sorry. LeBron to Celtics confirmed next season. Boom. Boom. No, take that back. If the Celtics win this series, right, they go on to the NBA Finals, and they beat Golden State, which it could be a possibility. Anyways, KD to the Celtics confirmed. Oh, my gosh. That is a meme that will never be forgotten. Oh, my gosh, that is great. I just want to ask you one question. Do you think, unlike the Rockets, do you think that the Cavs still have a prayer in this series?
In the series with Boston, I assume you're talking about? Not it. Well,
yes,
I'm just making sure
yes.
we're not talking about the presumable series with either of those two against the Warriors.
No. I'm talking about Cavs, Boston.
They have a better chance at winning than the Rockets do. Do I think the Cavs still have a prayer? Yes. And simply because they have the best player in the world. Right? Because they have LeBron James. If he can rally the troops enough, they might be able to squeak by. But I still think after these first two games, I think Boston's youth and athleticism, which is what you're seeing because they're able to kind of lock down more on defense, and they're able to switch things more, be physical with LeBron. Props to Marcus Morris for how he's been guarding LeBron. You just see that they have more of it to stop them. Either way, either team probably gets swept by the Warriors and they win again, which eventually might cause the NBA to take a look at it. But it's I think the year that LeBron finally misses after making 8 straight NBA finals. So I think the Celtics will end up winning that out. But
and if they do, which I'm not jumping the pedal here, and I hope they do.
Jumping the pedal?
What's the word I'm looking for?
Jumping the gun?
Yeah. Why did I say pedal?
I don't know. You said pedal earlier, and it took me jumping the gun as in starting a race.
I mean, race to the NBA Finals.
It's like a race to get murdered by the Warriors.
Depressing. When was the last time the Celtics were in the NBA Finals? Do you remember? Because I honestly can't.
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you, but I know it would have been with KG.
Oh yeah.
And Ray Allen and Paul Pierce.
When did
you're talking what
no
2009, 2010, something like that.
Yeah, because they had Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and what was the next one?
Ray Allen.
Ray Allen, that's it. Ooh, man, I miss that team. I remember. Oh, that was. I'm not gonna get on a rant here. Oh gosh, I almost went NBA Jam. Oh, but it's kind of exciting to see someone new besides the Cavs and the Warriors. And I do think the Cavs do have a prayer, but I just don't think LeBron's gonna be able to do it this year. So we shall see.
All right, so staying here within the NBA realm. A couple head coaching vacancies being the Bucks and the Magic. Real quick, get your thoughts here on a rumored coaching top candidate for the Orlando Magic, in Kelvin Sampson. You might remember his name from being former coach of Oklahoma, to the former coach of Indiana University, to the current coach of the Houston Cougars, which were just in the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2010. So, Sampson, I believe after his troubles at Indiana, had gone to Sacramento as an assistant or advisor or something. But according to reports, oh, that's what it is. Here it is. I see it right here. It was the Bucks and the Rockets that he was an assistant on while he was spending 3 years. He spent 3 years with each team, with the Bucks and the Rockets, while the NCAA had him on a 5-year show cause penalty, which then he went to Houston after that. But like, I don't know what your thoughts are here with Kelvin Sampson. And granted, I know you don't really know him a lot, but
which team was he going to? I don't know.
The Magic. It would have been like, who cares one about the Magic? Because I think that franchise is just like destined to fail since Shaq left.
Yeah. It really depends on what he brings to the table. Does he bring energy, new plays, and more importantly, new players? You know.
I will say he's 62 years old.
Oh. Well.
So, does that
affect him at all?
Right, and like you were coaching here at Houston, and the bulk of his coaching career has been at the college level. He's been an assistant in the NBA, so, it's one of those things, like, well, what makes you think this is going to work when the bulk of his career has been spent in college? We've seen people... Technical difficulties there. My microphone just fell apart on me in the middle of this. Not sure what we're going to do here, but...
Wish y'all could see this.
We'll finish this out, and I'll fix it after the show, I guess.
Oh, my gosh. He's holding it like a regular mic now. Oh, my God, dude. I wish y'all could see this. Oh, my God. Dude, I'm crying. That's funny. The way his mic is it like it?
I don't think they really care.
No, they're trying to figure out what the heck is going on.
They're probably just trying to figure out what the FUD was. But I guess let's try to get this train back on track if at all possible, and I'll have to fix this afterwards. But I don't know how we're going to transition, but we'll do the best we can here.
I just
can't right now. Anyways, so the Bucks are apparently hiring Mike Budenholzer, the former coach of the Atlanta Hawks. Are you going to be okay over there?
I'm still just dying on the mic, but all right, keep going. I'm sorry.
Anyways, Mike Budenholzer just was coaching the Atlanta Hawks this past season. He had a little bit of success when he first got to Atlanta, but then has struggled these past few seasons. Do you think he is a, I believe, a Popovich descendant, right, in regards to his coaching tree? Was an assistant under Popovich for years. Do you think he's able to have success in Milwaukee?
Like you said, from I'm sorry, I just can't look at you. Since he's sort of like a descendant from Popovich, hearing that, it's more of does he bring that experience to the table? Does he kind of use what Popovich teached him? I'm sorry.
Teach him? Really?
I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm like so off right now ever since my mic popped off.
How about taught him?
Yes, teached. Oh my gosh, I'm so off. I'm so sorry. Forgive me.
All right, well, you carry this for a second. I gotta fix this. I can't hold it any longer. So you just continue on with your thought.
Okay. you know, he taught him, so he's able to bring pretty much what Popovich is able to bring to the Spurs. I think with the new vision of the Bucks, meaning what they're trying to do, I think it's going to be exciting for the Bucks because it's a new scene of imagery. Like they're excited to work with is it Button? Yeah, it's Buttonholzer. Hopefully I said that right and I didn't butcher it. But I think if he brings the energy and brings players with him, helps the franchise grow, I think he's got it. And while you're setting up your mic, I guess I'm trying to think of what else we could talk about. Hold on, give me a second, because I had an alert that I wanted to say. Because I
got it now.
You got it. Please don't pop off, otherwise I'm dying again.
No, if this pops off, we're just gonna have to end it here.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh my gosh. Oh, it took me everything not to just die laughing in the middle of that convo. Oh, I couldn't even think straight. I was like, So again, forgive me. I'm so sorry. It's just that it was so random. It just popped off.
I literally just kind of adjusted and it just fell.
Boing.
I moved it a little bit and it just boom. I was like, all right, well.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that on the podcast.
Yeah, listening back to that ought to be fun.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
But all right, let's transition after that whole fiasco to over to the NFL real quick, because there is a little bit of news there, and it's in regards to the sale of the Carolina Panthers. Not really a whole lot to talk about other than maybe the sell price of it, but David Tepper, I believe is how it's pronounced. I don't know. Could be wrong. But anyways, he's buying it from Jerry Richardson, the owner of the Panthers. And if you remember, there were some sexual assault allegations a couple years ago against Jerry Richardson, which is forcing him to sell the team that the other NFL owners are and all that. But he is selling it to Tepper, who is a minority holder. He was a minority holder in the Steelers. He had 5% ownership. But he's buying it, and he is a hedge fund billionaire, and he's buying it for a reported $2.2 billion, Rylee, with a B.
Ouch.
$2.2 billion.
Okay, real quick, let's talk about how much stuff we could buy with that. I'm first of all, huge old mansion. Okay.
You could buy an island for 2.2.
Dude.
And then you could put a big mansion on top of that.
And a new Lamborghini or whatever.
A couple Lamborghinis probably.
Yeah, no kidding. And I guess how much food supply that you got, I don't know. But that'd be nice. But either way, that's a whole ton of money, dude. Whole ton of money. So go ahead. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Anyways, he is apparently going to be the winner, and they'll vote on this next week. The NFL owners will. He does have to come up with and pay 30% of it, which is $690 million. So he has to put that up front. Then it goes to the NFL Finance Committee and all that. So barring any hiccup, in the owners' meetings next week in Atlanta, he will be taking over immediately. And he just needs 3/4 of the approval from the 32 NFL owners. So if we do quick math, that's 24 out of 32 owners that have to approve it. So
I was going to say, do not let it
he is apparently keeping the team in Charlotte, which is what they wanted.
I thought it was Carolina Panthers. Oh, I'm thinking of something else.
Charlotte's in Carolina.
You know what? Just end the podcast. Technical difficulties arose, and Yeah, I think we're done. Yeah, okay. Oh wow. Oh. Hashtag school. Stay in school, kids. Don't do it. Don't drop out. I'm just kidding. I'm not a dropout. I can't even. Oh, such a freaking idiot. Okay, go on ahead, and I'll just sit over here, thinking about my life real quick.
Anyways, he will be the new owner of the Carolina Panthers, and huge jump from when the Panthers were bought, or I guess expanded, the expansion franchise, and because when that happened, it was worth $208 million, right? That's how much it was purchased for, the expansion franchise of the Carolina Panthers, early 2000s, I believe. But waiting to kind of see what he'll do, if he'll build a new stadium for him. More than likely would keep it, but I have seen things where he wants to do it more of the Steeler way, right? He wants to be patient kind of with the coaches. He wants to have that consistency that the Steelers have had over the years. And so I think for the Panthers organization, that actually will help a lot. Coming from an as a minority owner in an organization like the Pittsburgh Steelers, that will help for the Panthers' sake. Will help to have some consistency there, and maybe build a perennial powerhouse or something as to the effects of the Steelers. But real quick update on our Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals before we move on to our last topic here, Rylee, is... wait, hang on. Now it says halftime. That can't be right. In the quarter one, it looks like... Yeah, in the quarter one, it's Rockets 26, Warriors 21.
Ooh. Could
so
be.
Probably really nothing going to happen here other than the Warriors come back and win.
True.
But that's the end of quarter one. So last topic here, and if you've noticed, we've kind of done an extended edition here, and I'll talk about that once we get done with our last topic here. But last topic is the big news of the week so far, is that the Supreme Court for the United States made a ruling that will allow gambling on sporting events, such as NBA playoffs, NFL games, college games. But the caveat there is it's a state-by-state decision. So it's not like this is a federal law taking place. All they did was strike down a federal law. And so now each state will have to determine whether or not they want to allow this gambling inside their state boundaries. So, real quick, do you have any quick thoughts on this, Rylee, at all?
Yeah, I think it brings a new, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess a new scene to sports. It brings more fans, and especially people with money, that can make a lot of money off of those betting or gambling. Sorry, either one. It really depends on how the NBA thinks of it. I saw Adam Silver's pretty much statements. He said it was fun. He wasn't really fully with it, but he could see where it could bring a lot of money and a lot of people to the NBA.
Well, and I think the thing to be clear about when we're talking about this, there is no way at all that the NFL, the NBA, MLB, even NHL, right, NCAA, that they're going to allow all this betting to take place without them getting a piece of that pie.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And, the thing I didn't think of originally when I saw this was how long this actually could take for some states and just in general. Now, New Jersey's like ready to go with it because they were the ones here in the lawsuit. And they say they could start accepting bets as soon as Memorial Day weekend. But, what's that to entail? Is it going to be the NBA Finals that you can bet on from there? There's a lot of logistical things to figure out. And, can I bet off my cell phone like you can in Vegas? In Vegas, they have these geo borders that if you go outside of Nevada, then you're no longer able to bet on that app. Do you set up these geo boundaries within the states? Then what happens when you're like in Kansas City and say Missouri approves gambling and Kansas doesn't? If you're hooked on to part of a cell tower that's in Kansas, then you can't bet in Missouri even though you live in Missouri, right? So there's a lot of logistical things to kind of clear out. We're just at the beginning of this. But for a lot of states, this could be huge in revenue. And I know some people talk about addicting traits in gambling, right? But for me, the way there are a lot of addicting traits in a lot of things in life. Alcohol, cigarettes, both can be addicting. And even something as such, as sodas, right? That you can almost become addicted to them, become addicted to that caffeine within them. And yeah, there is that risk for addiction within, gambling on sporting events. But at the same, the revenue that can be generated from this for states is, I think, going to kind of outweigh that factor. Also think of how many eyes, right? If you are financially invested on an NBA game, right, you're going to be paying attention to it. Correct?
That is pretty true.
And, how many extra eyes you can get. Think of the Super Bowl. Say you have, let's say, 30 out of the 50 states, right? Now say that you can gamble. And it's the 2020 Super Bowl. Think of how many eyes are going to be on that game. Whether you want to do prop bets throughout, just betting the game as a whole, you're going to be paying attention. So then the NFL goes, hey, I've got more eyes on this game. Now I want more money for ads. This could lead into a large swell here for these leagues. And as I said a minute, these leagues aren't going to allow this to just continue on without them getting some of the action. And so I think you have to figure out how they get their piece of the pie, how, in fact, it'll work, with colleges. How do you keep referees out from point shaving? How do you keep players out from point shaving? Which I think is a little bit easier to do, honestly, when it's all above board. When it's all in the legal aspect and regulated, it's a little bit easier to monitor for point shaving and things like that.
Well, the only downside I really see to this is there's a lot of drama that could start up. There really is, and it's the same with every addiction. If you start addicting if you get addicted to gambling, there's gonna be some drama. There's gonna be something that pops up. Someone's gonna get arrested, or someone's gonna sue somebody, or something so easy as that can really cause big problems for NBA, NFL, NHL. Either one. And that's really it. That's all I really got to say about it. Am I against it? No. Do I think it's a good thing? Maybe. Not really. Not really, but it's really whatever.
I think it is a little bit too early. Everybody, and I know you saw this. Everybody's like, "Oh yeah, this is so great," but it's you got to slow your roll, because other than New Jersey, what other state's ready to take advantage of this right now? A lot of states aren't in session with their state legislator. A lot of them are going through elections right now. So when's the next time you can convene them all? When you can put something on the books to discuss it, to talk, to vote on it, to send it to the governor, to overrule it if you need. There's a lot of processes that are gonna go into this, and things I think people didn't think of in the beginning. There's a lot of logistics to take care of. You have to set, how can I bet? Where can I bet? Anybody owning a bar, can they get a license to allow me to place bets at their bar? Do I have to go to an established casino? There's a lot of questions to answer, and each state's going to have to answer those questions. Because, and I think that the thing that'll be the hardest is, if you take a state, let's take the state of Kentucky, okay? Just as an example, if Kentucky doesn't legalize it, and the surrounding states around it, so Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Virginia, Tennessee, if they all say yes to it, it's okay, well, where's that money going to go, right? People are obviously going to, especially if they're close, going to travel across the river to Indiana, across the border to Tennessee. If you're there in the mountains, over to West Virginia, and West Virginia seems primed to be accepting this. And so it's one of those things, as a state, you have to decide, okay, do we want to keep our money here in state, or do we want it to be spent outside of our boundaries? So it's a lot to say this is a major step with this being broken down, but all this to really say it's going to take some time for the complete fallout of this, right? For states to approve this and get set up. So you probably will even maybe see some other rulings maybe down the road as people sue and say, hey, no, we can't do it this way, we have to do it this way, and yada yada yada. So you may see this again in the Supreme Court, or at least some version of it. But not to continue to beat the dead horse here. I think it's time that we wrap up, Rylee. As the sports world kind of slows down, more to a crawl now, not quite to the screeching halt that it will hit in the summer, Rylee and I have decided to go to one day a week for now, probably to a little bit right before the college football season gets started. We'll hop back in twice a week when that starts happening, as it kind of picks up. We did that partially to spare ourselves a little bit, but at the same time to spare you all so you didn't have to just keep hearing us maybe ramble about the same stuff. But if you would rather hear us twice a week, and they might end up being shorter podcasts if we do them twice a week, you got to hit us up. You can hit me up on Twitter. It's at @dish_RD Sports. You can hit Rylee up. Let him know it's at Rylee_RD Sports. It's RYLEE. You can hit us up on the podcast page at R&D Sports Report on Twitter. You can also search it on Facebook and find us there as well. Let us know if the once a week you think works better. If it's twice a week that you think works better for us, just let us know. And kind of whatever we hear more feedback from is what we're going to continue to do going forward. But for right now, the plan is to continue on once a week at least, and to be able to hit these biggest topics here and break them down for you, and maybe a little bit of stuff like Yanny v. Laurel, and break that down and make sure you hear the correct thing.
True.
So, with that being said, this is going to kind of be the beginning of our summer routine here. But for this episode, that will finish it up, Rylee. And this has been another episode of the R&D Sports Report.